This season has been one of the most terrible seasons in the history of the LA Lakers. A season that began with the promise of 3 superstars, ends with the club failing to finish in the top 10 of the Western Conference and failing to qualify for the play-in tournament. Because the Lakers will always be near the center of the NBA universe, their failure this season is as big of a story as some teams will compete later in the season. The gossip mill will be swirling this summer about what will happen to the franchise. So let's take a look at the 5 moves that the Lakers must make this offseason. At number 5, Frank Vogel needs to be fired. There's a risk that this change will be made before anyone reads this piece. Not everything that has gone wrong this season can be blamed on the head coach, but he's one of the more obvious scapegoats in this circumstance. Even before the team was eliminated, speculations began to circulate that Vogel would not be retained as the head coach of the Lakers. There comes a moment when a team that was thought to be capable of winning a championship needs a new voice, and being outside of the postseason is one of those occasions. Many names will be floated for the Lakers position if it becomes available soon. Quinn Snyder has already been mentioned as Vogel's potential replacement, despite the fact that the former is still being employed by the Utah Jazz. The first step, though, is to get rid of Vogel, and if it hasn't happened already, expect it to happen shortly. At number 4, find a way to get into the NBA draft. When the NBA draft rolls around in June, the LA Lakers won't have much draft cash to work with. In fact, they've got no picks at the time. The Lakers' star-studded lineup has frequently been assembled through trades and free agency. However, with much of the cash surrounding the brand dwindling this year, they may want to consider doing what most other teams do and build through the draft. The Lakers require not only young skill, but also young, cheap players. More than half of the team's roster is leaving in the offseason, and there are just a few players under contract for 2022 and 2023. But Westbrook and Kendrick Nunn both appear to be potential contenders to exercise their player options. LA may not be able to return to the top of the NBA standings in a hurry. Even if it damages them in the short term, it's time for the franchise to start investing in a stronger future rather than focusing entirely on the present. At number 3, persuade LeBron to sign a contract extension. Father LeBron James legend will eventually be tempered by time. However, with the exception of a few injuries, that hasn't happened yet, and James remains one of the league's top 5 players. James becomes eligible for a 2-year, $97.1 million contract extension with the team on August 4th. If James accepts such an agreement, he will be committed to the Lakers through the 2024-2025 season. Despite the Lakers' budgetary constraints, an extension appears to be a certain conclusion. This is a team that revolves around stars and has virtually bet the entire franchise on James. They're all in on the king, no matter what. At number 2, reintroduce Malik Monk. Malik, during his first season with the Lakers, was one of the team's bright spots, averaging a career high in points and leading the league in effective field goal percentage. Bringing him back, on the other hand, may not be so simple. Monk had to re-establish his reputation following an indeterminate suspension prior to the epidemic, which he did quietly despite playing for one of the loudest teams. In 2021 through 2022, Monk averaged 13.4 points per game while shooting a career-high 47.2% from the field. And at number 1, trade Russell Westbrook. You probably saw this one coming. One may argue that the Westbrook deal wasn't as terrible as it appeared for much of the season. However, the situation in Los Angeles has become untenable, necessitating a change. Of course, it won't be that easy. Westbrook will almost certainly want to collect all of the money that he's owed, and teams will not be lining up to take on the point guard's contract. The first order of business will be for Westbrook, whose $47 million deal comes with a player option for next season. Well guys, thank you so much for tuning in to today's video. Be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so that you never miss a video. We'll see you guys next time.